Welcome to this episode of Coffee Time Doodles. Today is a very special episode for me because we're drawing Sonic the Hedgehog, one of the most important characters of my life. And I'm just really excited, so let's get into it. Pick up a drink, relax, and enjoy. Sonic the Hedgehog. What an iconic character. The best rival that Mario could have asked for in the 90s. I still remember the launch of the first game in 1991. That makes me two things, old and lucky. I feel lucky that I have experienced the upbringing of Sonic in all its glory. Nintendo and Sega were competing for the number one 16-bit console spot, trying to get all the developers to publish on their console. I'm a believer that Super Nintendo won that race because even though the Super Nintendo and the SEGA Genesis both had around 700 games, the Super Nintendo seemed to have a lot more hit games, including the three Donkey Kongs, Super Mario, Super Metroid, etc. But even the core Nintendo fans agreed that Sonic was pretty dope. It was actually fantastic enough to carry Sega for a long time. The Sonic franchise was the masterpiece that Nintendo fans were missing out on. Thankfully, I had the Genesis and my friends had the Super Nintendo. Best of both worlds. We were renting games for the Super Nintendo every weekend and playing the Sonic games at my place. Let me tell you my Sonic story. I remember watching the trailer of the first Sonic game. It was shiny, it was beautiful, it was fast, and very advanced. I was still playing 8-bit games at that time on my NES. Jumping from Mario 3 to freaking Sonic was a giant leap in technology. I was in elementary school and I kept thinking about that Sonic ad, with the catchy high-pitched theme, and Sonic running through that loop, catching those rings. Am I really going to choose a Genesis over the Super Nintendo? Yep, I had to. Literally for Sonic. And oh my gosh, this game was great for its time. Listen to this, I had dreams of Sonic that I still remember to this day. Remember how beautiful and magical the background of Green Hill Zone was like in Sonic 1? With all of the shiny waterfalls and the really catchy tune playing in the background? I dreamed that I was surfing on a river in Green Hill Zone with Sonic next to me, and we surfed down the wild before ending up in a lake and swam to the shore. This is probably because of the snow level in Sonic 3 where Sonic snowboards down the hill in the beginning. Well, I can officially say that I surfed with Sonic in Green Hill Zone, my boys. I have so many good memories of having sleepover parties with my friends and playing Sonic 1, 2, and 3. It had great replayability because the games were pretty hard. When Sonic 3 came out, it felt like they were taking the story more seriously. It was very polished, there was more lore, and Knuckles made his first appearance. He was Eggman's goon back then. He's a bad guy in that game. Oh, speaking of Eggman, when Sega created Sonic in Japan, he was called Eggman, but in the West, his name was changed to Robotnik without consulting the people who made the game. So we all knew him as Robotnik over here, until Sonic Generations came out and they reverted it back to Eggman in the West. To make it a good transition, the Sonic team officially implied now that his real name is Robotnik and Eggman is his nickname, and the name that we will call him from now on. Alright, it's okay, not too bad. It's just like Tails is the nickname of Miles Prower, the Yellow Fox. This was an easier fix than what happened with the Street Fighter characters when they were ported to the West. They switched out the names of the characters for no freaking reason and now the franchise is stuck with this mess. So at the time when Sonic 3 was out, the fans started wondering which is the best Sonic of the first three. I think that the general consensus was Sonic 2. Just like the Mega Man series, the second one is the leader of the whole franchise. From my personal taste, Sonic 3 was my favorite one, even though the ending boss of Sonic 2 and the music was epic. I need to talk about the last Sonic game that came out on the SEGA Genesis. It's another amazing one, Sonic and Knuckles. I'm not sure why they didn't call it Sonic 4, but it's basically following up from Sonic 3. But right from the start you can play as Knuckles, Sonic, or Tails. They have 3 unique campaigns and can access their own unique passageways in every level because of their unique abilities. For example, Tails is able to fly with his 2 foxtails and can access areas that the other characters can't. Knuckles is a strong one and is able to climb walls and break rocks to access areas. So Knuckles became a good guy after realizing that Eggman was using him this whole time and kinda screwed him over. This leads to a very memorable moment that I loved from Sonic and Knuckles. In the Sonic campaign, there's a moment where Knuckles comes to help Sonic. He's on the ground, panting, and he helps us break the path open, and then he follows us a while to help us. For some reason, this was an impactful moment for me in the franchise. Knuckles is like the Vegeta of the Sonic universe, the selfish, neutral character that works with the bad guys and ultimately becomes good later on in the story. Don't we love these characters? They're not black and white, those are the grey characters. I love them. Another thing that was very special about Sonic & Knuckles was that you were able to plug an older Sonic game on top of the Sonic & Knuckles cartridge. If you plug Sonic 2 on it, you can play as Knuckles through the Sonic 2 levels, and they added a few Knuckles-only areas in the game. But when you plug Sonic 3 on it, you get what I consider the very best Sonic experience of all, by far. It makes you start from Sonic 3. You choose a character, let's say Sonic. You play through the whole game, and if possible, you gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds, which lets you transform into Super Sonic, which is basically a Super Saiyan transformation. I'm assuming they took the idea from Dragon Ball, which is a bit older. It's pretty obvious, and also pretty awesome. So once you clear the Sonic 3 levels, they take you immediately to the levels of Sonic & Knuckles as a perfect continuity, skipping the last boss of Sonic 3. And if you manage to get the 7 Chaos Emeralds in Sonic 3, now you can start gathering the Super Chaos Emeralds, which will allow you to become, Hypersonic. Yep, I'm not kidding, it's a thing, Hypersonic. Interestingly, Tails and Knuckles were never able to become Super Tails or Super Knuckles when gathering the 7 Chaos Emeralds in Sonic 3, until you did this same process in gathering all the emeralds from both games, which ultimately leads you to become Super Tails and Super Knuckles. It's awesome. What more can I tell you? It's the freaking bomb! I mean, you even end Sonic and Knuckles flying in space as Super Sonic face planting into meteorites, using the power of the rings to speed up and defeat Eggman. It's genuinely as epic as Dragon Ball overall. It's a random but fair comparison. But now, this is a memory of the past. Not many young gamers share the same experience as me. But thankfully, and I'm also grateful for this, the new generation of Sonic games still managed to create its own fan base. The next generation of gamers, probably most of you, grew up with these 3D Sonic games. I used to judge them, feeling like they were destroying what I grew up loving, destroying the core 2D gameplay that I loved so dearly. They started adding characters that tried to overshadow the coolness of Sonic, like literally the character named Shadow. I don't know. I wasn't happy with the transition and I didn't play any of those games, except the first 3D one on the Sega Saturn, Sonic R I think. The graphics were great for the time obviously, but I was not ready to transition from a 2D masterpiece to just a 3D version. Actually, there was a somewhat 3D game on the SEGA Genesis and now I remember, Sonic 3D Blast. I don't know the reviews of this game, but I had a really good time with that game. Wow. Anyways, in retrospect, it's because of this new generation of Sonic games like Sonic Generation that the Sonic fandom transcended to the next generation, and I'm so very thankful for that. I feel like I can share my love for Sonic with the younger gamers, and it's something that I can talk about without sounding like a grandpa talking about his Miss Pac-Man days on the arcade. So now that we're here, 2 generations of gamers with a common interest in this little spiky blue legend, we can cherish these new moments where amazing new games like Sonic Mania come out, which was the best freaking possible way to connect the past and new Sonic fans. The game was a blast, and made with the old mechanics, so perfect. I hope they'll make more of those games to continue the classic Sonic saga. And now we're getting a movie! I'm not gonna drag this out, but I think that we can all appreciate this viral Sonic moment with Paramount Pictures' Sonic movie. We can be thankful that they listened to the fans and literally turned this low-class B-movie mess into what now looks like a really good attempt at a AAA action comedy. This not only is a great story of how a giant distributor listened to a fan base and invested in quality, but we might end up with a Sonic movie worth celebrating. Maybe it's the start of something fun, we'll see. I don't have my hopes set too high, but damn, this trailer brings a smile to my face. The child version of me is excited. I'm writing this and the movie comes out in 3 days. I'll definitely go and watch it. Okay, this sums up my Sonic story. I'm just so thankful that I was able to draw it and share it with you. I'm sure you have your own story of how Sonic impacted your life and I'd love to hear it in the comments. If you're interested in checking out my merch store, I've been starting to release a print like every week, so I'll post the link in the video description. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.